Buckle up for the most passionate episode of Pro Saints Talk in history. We're talking Michael Thomas. We're talking Bucks game. We're talking the quarterback situation. Taysom or Simeon? Or that guy from Daphne or Fairhope, Alabama, Phillip Rivers. A lot to discuss here. We also have reports from the weatherman, from Doug under the overpass. And we have the Vegas picks with the Godfather. All that and more next on Pro Saints Talk. Buckle up.
Look at uptown people like yeah. People up in Gretna like yeah. Mid city folks like yeah. People downtown man yeah.
Where you at, Hoodats? Welcome to Pro Saints Talk. Coming off a statement win this past weekend in the Dome against the Bucks. We got the boys, George and Jay, breaking it down for you. This one came at a cost, boys. We're going to get all into it, break it all down, but we're going to highlight the positives too. You know we're always going to leave you with that glass half full touch. George, how we living, baby?
Ron, you went to me before I was ready. I got a mouthful of Tootsie Rolls in my mouth from Boris's Halloween candy. Ron, I need to report 1064 911. We need to call 911 right now. There's a burglary in process on Airline Drive at the Superdome. We need to call 911 immediately. Call any policeman you may know personally because the Saints are getting robbed. Ron, I know I'm fired up about the Saints win. I had another joke for that. But no, this is a problem right now with Mike Thomas and everything that I had to talk about the Buccaneers game. I was on such a high, and now I've never felt so in 48 hours afterwards, all these emotions, and I'm so riled up about it. I have so much to say. I wanted to text you everything that I have to say, but I held it for this moment. I'm going to get started right now. Ron, I've never felt this angry or upset or just hustled by an NFL player, by a Saints player. There's been times in our life where we're exasperated and frustrated, and you see Brandon Browner not playing well. You see Jason David not playing well, and that makes you pull your hair out. But this personal attack that Mike Thomas is doing to New Orleans, to the Saints fan base, has me livid. This is personal. I've never felt this way towards an NFL player, and especially towards a Saint, and that's really what I'm riled up about. But Jay, how you?
Jay, okay, yeah. Sorry for the informalities, Jay. We'll just bring you right on in because this is good because we have an action-packed episode. So yeah, we could just cut the pleasantries here. Jay, the timing of this though—that's the craziest thing, right?
Yeah, the timing of it, and George, I was aligned with you in that it does feel personal. But the thing with Michael Thomas is he lost the trust of Sean Payton, the organization, and the fan base when he came into training camp and didn't disclose his injury right away or disclosed his injury but didn't get the surgery. It sounds like, to me, I think we all know Sean Payton well. We understand how to translate what he's saying. And today, honestly, he didn't seem like he was fed up. It sounded like, it was Thomas made the bad mistake of handling the injury the way he did in the offseason. And then the surgery just didn't go well. But that doesn't mean, George, that I disagree with you on your sentiments. I agree that this guy is more of a sideshow. And frankly, I'm disappointed that we're talking about that right now instead of the Saints being 5-2 and defeating the defending Super Bowl champions where nobody nationally gave them credit. And frankly, without Mike Thomas, Ron, that'd be a good stat to look up. The Saints are 5-2 this year. He went out pretty early last year. They still managed to be successful. So for me, it's time to say, Antoine Winfield, Tyreek Hill, peace. See you later, bud. We don't need you. It's not about one guy on this team, and truly more this year than ever. It's a team effort, and he's not a team guy. And those are
Jay, let me hop in. One thing you just said I disagree with. So Sean Payton, he said he had the supportive statement, very short, about Mike Thomas. And at first I was irritated by that. I said, you need to go after him. But no, he knows better. He's smart. If you blast Mike Thomas for his antics, what he created the firestorm. Then you're creating all this drama. Then you're creating the sideshow. And then he's just going to get more and more and more questions about it. I guarantee if you go to Sean Payton right now and pour him a glass of wine and ask him about it, he'll tell you how he really feels. And I bet you it's just like how we feel, because this is bad, man. Why the hell is he telling the world the day after the trade deadline? He knows exactly what he's doing, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. This is BS.
Well, okay, a lot on this. Sean Payton is able to compartmentalize a lot, right? He's the head coach of the football team. There's a bajillion storylines with the whole team, as we highlight every week on this podcast, and this is just one of them. So I don't know. I think, one, he can just compartmentalize the fact that, no, I'm coaching the guys I got available. We're 5-2. That's what I'm focused on. But yeah, when he is asked about it, and yeah, there were some supportive statements of, oh, this one wasn't his fault. He was doing everything he could to get back. Yeah, maybe that's true, but it doesn't change the fact that this whole timeline started with him not being proactive on getting his ankle repaired. And fans just have to freaking remember this happened in week 1 of last season. So it's just far too long for this to have dragged out. And look, I'm sure the real story is somewhere there in the middle there. I don't know, maybe the needle sways a little bit more towards the Saints side of the story in terms of the lack of communication on the front end there. But yeah, I have no doubt that Michael Thomas was probably trying to get back this season to play football. I mean, he was shown on the sideline this past week. I don't know what he knew this past Sunday when he was going over there to Pat Jameis and give him a little love tap. I mean, but I don't know. I just think the timing of this is way too suspicious. Right after the trade deadline, you make this announcement. I don't know. George, I kind of think it could be closure for Sean Payton, where it's like, good, this storyline's done for the year.
Rod, don't be naive. This is a guy that just hustled the Saints. He just robbed the Saints. It's no different than the Ida and Katrina guys that you give a down payment to do some work on your house and they disappear. That's what he's doing to the Saints right now. He had this orchestrated. Ron, when you said this happened last year, this is a high ankle sprain. This is a high ankle sprain. This is a high ankle sprain. He knows that if he is hurt, he still gets his full contract. He's hustling the Saints as we speak. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Teron Armstead has endured a dozen more injuries since Mike Thomas has endured this high ankle sprain. This is straight BS. Don't be naive. He is robbing the Saints.
It's just too stereotypical too. Like, that's the part about it. Like, it's so terribly unbelievable what's happening right now and how just quickly this guy's fallen from grace. But it's also so predictable based on we've just seen it so many other times, especially with wide receivers. I mean, look at where Odell Beckham is now in his career. I mean, that catch against the Cowboys in primetime just feels like a decade ago that happened. So yeah, it's just a shame that it got to this point, and now people are already. I mean, listening to you, George, I'd say what you're. If I pose the same Jameis question to you, does Michael Thomas take another snap in the black and gold? Chances of that.
-1,000. I'll get a UTO tattoo tomorrow. I would debate, and I know I'm riled up now because the emotional topic of the day, but Ron, that would be something that I would question continuing your Saints fan because he's getting this money. To me, this is a clear Ocean's 11 robbery. It's right there in front of us. This is when he was supposed to be recovering. He was not answering the phone call. He got in a lawsuit in Las Vegas because he had this astronomical Airbnb bill that he didn't pay because he said the landlord kept coming in. These are all times that he should have been rehabbing, but he was ignoring CJ's phone calls. He was ignoring Sean Payton's phone calls. If we can trade him for this is what's going to end up happening. One, the Saints are going to try to sue him to recoup some of that money because they know he's been out of line and he's been on the wrong end of his contract. He's done a lot of things in his contract that is not kosher. Two, you give a team like the Jaguars a third-round pick and Mike Thomas in the hopes that they give you a conditional seventh. You do whatever you can to get him off the team. You cannot bring him back. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is a great locker room. And it's so hard to have a good locker room. You see in the NFL how many good locker rooms are there. A few, not very many. It is so easy to have a guy like Mike Thomas come in and break that egg.
Well, I think the play is you release him, right? I think that was the thing we looked at when we looked at this contract was after year 2, they can get out very friendly and very low impact. So
year 3, year three.
I'm pretty positive it was year 2, man.
Bird and I talked about it this morning. Bird went behind the computer and looked it up. Year 3 is when it gets a whole lot better. We're going to be on a bad contract next year, but it's worth it nonetheless. Yes, Ron, it's year 3.
And
you can Google it right now.
I don't understand what happens in a person's and a player's psyche for this guy to come in as a second-round pick to work as hard as he did, right? He got the most out of his ability to become what he became. He was in discussions to be the offensive player of the year 2 years ago, and then switched to a mindset that, like, it just like some of these guys unfortunately show the capability just to become so conceited, and the expression little me big team is just so far-fetched. Like, dude, you're 27 years old, 26 years old, and you're not answering calls and you're not doing what you're supposed to do to get on the field. Like, do you know, like what Ron said earlier, how quickly this goes away? Like, you don't have the awareness to say, like, oh, I'm playing for maybe the best offensive mind of all time and one of the best quarterbacks is throwing me the football. Like, maybe I should look in the mirror a little bit. It shouldn't shock me. It doesn't shock me anymore, but the lack of awareness that some of these guys have is baffling.
No, you can't understand it, Jay, because we're just not even in these people's shoes. Guys like us, we're not in the league, and I don't know, for other reasons, and we're not in these people's shoes and their situations. But yeah, it's just so incomprehensible to ever even let it get to this point. Okay, I guess we got to segue off of this somehow. We didn't perform a trade. There were rumors that we were going to go after another big name wide receiver like Odell Beckham. I think that would have been, I don't know what that would have been. We just talked about really briefly this locker room and how stable it is and just championship level it is. A great move to bring in a guy like Mark Ingram, bringing in a guy like OBJ. What is that? That's going to bring more harm than good.
Ron,
so I was kind of relieved that didn't happen.
Yeah, he's a guy that we've all followed closely, given our history and watching him grow up and go to Newman High School and play at LSU, and pretty neat to follow his career. But being up in New York when he was in New York, it was like it doesn't matter what this guy's doing on the field. Like, he is such a malcontent. We've all talked about that interview with Lil Wayne that he had on ESPN Sunday Countdown, how he's talking about how it's cold in New York and he wants a trade. I mean, this guy is the definition to this point in his career of all those things I just talked about with Michael Thomas. But you would hope, right, that the Saints organization, they don't really take risk unless they think that it's a calculated risk. And the reason why somebody like Michael Thomas hasn't affected this locker room in a toxic way, even with the way that he's carried about his business, is because the culture and the strength of the leaders on this team, everybody else rises up to those guys. So they don't get sucked down by people like Michael Thomas. And I guess my glass half full take on Odell, he's a guy now where he put up numbers in New York. They didn't win. He got traded to Cleveland. Now he's complaining about not getting the ball. They didn't win. They haven't lived up to expectations. Maybe if he comes to a place like New Orleans, where he's from, where there's such a strong locker room, he'd have that chip on his shoulder again where he can be the number one guy. So that was my glass half full take on it. And that's something that hasn't gone away. I know I heard that general manager Andrew Berry with the Browns today is discussing with his agent possibilities of how they'll go forward, and being released is one of those. So, that's a story that's probably going to linger around this week, maybe next week. Maybe we'll have some finality on it by the time this podcast comes out. But the Saints have definitely been in the mix, and there seems to be some fire to that smoke.
Yeah, I don't know, Jay. I just think about it like, let's put ourselves in the Browns' shoes. Like, do you think they're looking for us to release? I know he's injured, and there's things against that, but like, let's just say all things are equal, and Mike Thomas is healthy, but having the same kind of numbers as OBJ and having the same kind of attitude. I mean, we know way more of the everyday storyline of Mike Thomas. We don't necessarily keep up with the everyday drama of Odell Beckham in Cleveland.
Well,
do you think people in Cleveland want Mike Thomas right now?
No, I mean, that's why it's a minute possibility that he could be released, although it doesn't make any sense on paper, is because his dad's putting out 11-minute video highlights of Baker Mayfield not throwing him the ball, and he's such a distraction and a concern to that locker room.
Yeah,
that's why they're even teetering on the thought of cutting him.
Yeah, and I just can't see him getting that fire, getting that spark again, getting that motivation to come catch passes from Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian. Like, if he's having issues, dude, if he's having issues with Baker Mayfield, like, let's be honest, I would say Baker Mayfield is probably better than Siemian or Taysom at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They do have a lot of targets there. Run a lot of people to spread the ball out to where here not as much.
And Peyton doesn't do that here, man. It doesn't matter who we got, we're spreading out. So okay. Anyway,
wait, Ron, tell him what we're. So Ron and I are side texting because I told Ron it's 2023. He said no, we're a team friendly deal after this season. If you look at it, if he's injured and he extends this injury, his contract next year becomes guaranteed. This is a hustle written all over it. And I'm ready to move on from that because clearly my point has been made how I feel. But I don't think I'm just representing myself here. I think a lot of this fan base feels this way, that this is just bullshit. But whatever. Maybe we get Odell. What do we really get if we get Odell? He's not going to move the needle all that much who he is nowadays. He's not the game changer he was 6 years ago. So, but Ron,
one part of wisdom that I heard when I worked in football was from an NFL scout, and I thought it was pretty profound what he said, is that you're never one player away, right? While the sum of the parts might make you better, I think especially in a case like this where you're talking about personality concerns, this group has gotten you to this point, but unless they feel extremely confident in keeping somebody like that in check off the field, they're not going to take that risk.
No, Jay, that's a great line right there. And, the Saints have displayed that they're more than just one guy away. When you have the kind of attrition that they've had when it comes to injuries, and they still continue to win ball games. So it's criminal that we've made it this far into this podcast and we haven't poured out any of our beers for Jameis Winston. The guy gave us his heart and soul this past offseason, heck, last year under the tutelage of Breeze. And to see what happened in the Dome this past weekend was just soul crushing. I feel terrible for him. I was talking about this with George earlier the week. I said, man, it just sucks because that guy just lost out on at least 9 figures. I mean, he is looking at a long-term deal, definitely exceeding $100 million. I guess the value of that is debatable. But now the poor guy's looking at another prove-it deal coming off of this injury. So, I mean, just for his personal situation, I feel terrible. And obviously for this team, right? I think it was evident that the players love this guy. I mean, he had endeared himself to everybody in that locker room. You saw how many guys were going into the blue tent to see him.
They're a more likable person, Ron? I mean, so
I mean, I guess you'd have to say amongst the players, probably not. I mean, he was probably more liked than Drew Brees and the only reason I'm saying that is because Drew Brees may not have related to, I'll just go out and say it, all the other players on the team. I'm going to namely Malcolm Jenkins. So I think Brees always had the utmost respect for the rest of the rest of the team. But in terms of likability, no, I don't think so. Everybody loves this guy. And how can you not when you see him still continue the dance party after the win? I mean, amongst the smoke, I mean, it seemed like a scene out of Halloween. I didn't know if that was Jason coming at me with a chainsaw or if that was Jameis with the crutches, dude. That was incredible. And Jay, I think you said it. How does he even have the emotional capacity to even celebrate that win when he knows that his season is over? I mean, wasn't that just incredible?
It speaks to the person that he is, to like everything that you just said and everything that we talked about Michael Thomas is not. Jameis Winston has exemplified that he is. Little me, big team. You know, he might have been a little bit high on some hydrocodone when he was dancing in the locker room, but I said to you all, I'd be sulking in the corner and thinking about what if, why me. But he was out there dancing and all of the work and just everything that this guy has said from day one, the way he's connected not only with the team but the city. And you wish other guys like Zion Williamson would take a page out of this guy's book when he's talking about playing Green Bay and Jacksonville, and he's doing it for the city. And I mean, he's just such a lovable guy. And Ronnie, he might not be a Hall of Famer in Canton, but I think wherever the Hall of Fame for people is, I'm certainly a fan. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer person, at least since he's been in the black and gold. And, you know, I'm glad we got that victory on Sunday, but it certainly hurt my heart. And I know many Saints fans hurt hearts when he went down with that injury. And, you know, I think part of maybe Peyton not going out and getting a quarterback has to do with number two, the guy that he's got, and the progress that he began to see each week. You know, it was a very different tune you saw when Winston was jogging off the sideline after he threw that beautiful corner route to Traquan Smith, and he was just leaving it all on the field in that first quarter against Tampa. You can tell it just meant more to him, the way he was running the ball, and the look that Peyton gave him after he threw that pass was a far different look than the looks he gave like in Carolina in week 2 when he's playing three flies in.
No doubt. And Jay, to that point, the reason you don't bring a gun for hire quarterback in to help shepherd this team to the playoffs is you've got all the leadership you need in the locker room. This team is going to rally around Jameis. And why would you disrupt that with bringing in somebody new that's got to somehow gain those relationships mid-season, gain the trust of Sean Payton mid-season? So I think they're doing the right thing of trusting who they got. And George, who they got is Trevor Siemian. Guy comes in, and credit to Peyton, dude, didn't hold back. I mean, didn't pull back the reins. He gave him 29 passing attempts. And, yeah, was it always pretty? No, but that's a hell of a defense that he went up against with little to no running game up against that front seven for Tampa. And he got enough plays made, got it done. Yeah, was he bailed out with that red zone interception with a little defensive holding? No doubt. Or I'm sorry, with the roughing the passer call? No doubt. And I did think the refs were doing us a little bit of help, a little bit of protection, knowing that, hey, he goes down here. We don't have Ian Book active. I'm pretty sure Kamara would have been the emergency quarterback just based on pure athleticism. And so, yeah, I think we got a little bit of favoritism there. But, hey, this league's all about protecting the quarterback. But, yeah, George, did Trevor do enough for you to give you the confidence going forward that he could be the guy, or is it no question Taysom when he's healthy?
So when he's healthy is the clear clause here. Trevor Siemian is a great backup, a serviceable backup. Can we count on Trevor Siemian from the long haul? I doubt it. He was good in that moment. He's a good backup to have, a good serviceable. And I'm not trying to knock him because I clearly am pro clickbait, pro Taysom Hill. And I'm happy for Trevor Siemian because he showed great moxie, great poise. He was prepared. He gave one of the best post-game interviews I've heard in a long time because I was just like, wow, he's very smart. He's very intelligent. He could just show that he shows that he cares so much, and he comes in with the right mentality. But to me, Ron, and the question you asked was not did he play well, because of course he played well, but is he the long-term answer now that Jameis is out? And to me, that's no. To me, it's clearly clickbait. He's the guy that you've had before. He's the guy who succeeded in every role you've put him in. He's the guy who went neck and neck with Jameis in the offseason. Was that all just a pony show? Was it all just a fake quarterback controversy? Or was it real? It was real because clickbait was right there to earn that spot as your starting quarterback. As it seemed many times during the Drew Brees years that he was the heir apparent. And this is his opportunity. So first and foremost, he has to clear the concussion protocol, which could take tomorrow. It could take a week. It could take a month. Concussions aren't like a broken finger. It's not that easy. So it might take a long time. But when he's healthy, it's got to be clickbait's job.
Jay, was he really neck and neck with Jameson in preseason? I mean, is it really obvious that he's the heir apparent?
Yeah, and I think we're putting too much weight on that trust thing, and I owe you this. And Taysom has gotten
too much weight on trust. Trustworthiness is something that you don't value. It's not a priority to you.
In the sense that you're saying it, I'm saying the trust that Peyton put in him. He got his opportunity in the preseason. He looked, as Peyton would say about the fans on Sunday, unremarkable. He played last year for 4 games. Granted, he went 3-1. But to me, George, look at Jameis Winston's stats going 5-2. Look at Teddy Bridgewater's stats last year. You don't need a guy. I think we're all enchanted with Taysom Hill. I love the guy. I love the person. I love him in the Joker role. I do not love him as the quarterback of the Saints. All right. He makes the sexy play, breaking 5 tackles on the 8-yard run inside the red zone, running for the touchdown. That's awesome. That fires you up. But what you can't have are the fumbles in the playoffs. You can't have the interceptions. You can't have 2-guy reads and then get sacked. He's getting sacked a lot when he's playing quarterback. What you need is somebody that takes care of the football, that if you have to take a punt, you punt it, you put the defense back on the field. And to me, Siemian can bring you, not from a spirit, not from an intangible standpoint, but he can bring you the same production that you saw in the 7 games from Jameis. He can bring you that without the risk of the turnovers. If you go back and watch the highlights, if you watch his highlights from when he started on the Broncos, he's got great pocket presence. In that game, I think on one of the first 3 plays, he's going through 5 progressions. How many reps is this guy getting with the starters? And how much better will he be once he does get those reps? And then how much better are we with, granted that we don't have the weapons in Michael Thomas, Marquez Callaway being your number 1 receiver, Adam Troutman not producing. You don't have the weapons outside of Kamara and Ingram. That's been well documented. Taysom Hill is a weapon. Use him even more in 3rd and short and short yardage situations. But to me, unequivocally, it makes sense for Siemian.
Jay, I'm with you there. I thought he looked really, again, that was a lot of pressure we were facing from that front 4 or 3-4, whatever they're running there. And he had great pocket presence. When he was under duress, he found the dump off. He started hitting the tight end more. I think I cracked a joke that, he's probably got the best rapport with Griffin because he's probably one of the only guys he overlaps with in practice. But yeah, and again, with little to no run game against that defense. So I thought he played admirably. And for as much as we ragged on Traquan Smith and Monday Night Football not being game ready coming off injury, he was 100% game ready, to your point, Jay. I mean, like I said, Peyton did not hold back with the play calling, and Trevor was able to respond and handle everything. And I thought clock management looked good. I mean, you just didn't have any kind of lapse that you would expect with a backup coming in terms of getting guys lined up, making the right reads. So I thought a lot of reason for optimism. George, we got a little bit into it right there on the concussion there for Taysom. And it is important that he gets back healthy, especially if, just like Jay's saying, we need him more in that joker role, which I wholeheartedly agree with. We said that. And a lot of the reasons why we wanted Jameis to be the starter was this offense needs that dynamic weapon in Taysom in every position that you could put him in. And we're clearly seeing that when you leave that Bucs game and your leading receiver is Kevin White, who caught his first pass in like 3 seasons. So, yeah, I think that we got to get Taysom back healthy. And I think it's something that we need to talk about on this podcast is – I think we take it for granted that guys come back all the time within a week with a concussion, and we're sitting here getting impatient on, come on, Taysom, why aren't you back yet? Well, every single concussion is different. Everybody's body is different. I mean, everybody's brain is different here, and it's no joke what's going on. So to me, I think it's pretty evident that if he is not back, which I know we got the report today that he was a limited participant. So vague. Like, what the heck does that mean? Was he all the video footages of him stretching? Don't really know if he was actually running any drills or anything. I didn't look like they were in pads. So, he's wearing the red jersey anyway. It's all non-contact. Long story short, we don't know if he's going to play this week. But I'm just looking at the indications and what Peyton's given us, and I don't have a lot of optimism that he's healthy yet. I think he's probably not progressing the way he should just based on looking around the league at how quickly people come back from concussions. And so, yeah, George, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying Taysom is definitely not playing quarterback. He may not even play this week. George, what are your thoughts on Taysom's situation? And I know you're passionate about him getting the opportunity, but what are your thoughts about Simeon leading us to a victory here against Atlanta?
I'm fine. So I'm not trying to knock Trevor Simeon. He's fine. He's a good backup. He's a great backup. We're happy and we're lucky to have him. But Jay goes on about what clickbait can't do. You're neglecting all that he has done. He was your starter last year. He was 3-1. Yeah, he's not perfect. No, he's not Drew Brees. But the guy is a gamer. The guy that you put in. He's the anti-Mike Thomas. He's the guy that you put in, and he's going to will you to a win. He's going to Tim Tebow you to a win. Trevor Simeon came in and did admirably. That's fine. He's not the playmaker. He's not the game changer that Taysom Hill is.
He beat the Falcons twice last year with a lame duck head coach and the Broncos with a practice squad wide receiver at quarterback.
Yeah, George, and that Tim Tebow comment, I'm like, yeah, Tim Tebow could will you to a victory based on sheer effort and running the football. I don't care how big of just a gung-ho guy you are. If you can't make the right decisions and anticipate the throws and get the ball out in time, you're going to be like what Jay said. He's going to pat,
y'all are
pat, pat
overly harsh on clickbait. Y'all are overly harsh on our boy. Everything you put him in, he's succeeded. When has he failed at anything he's done for the Saints? And you're going to act like he's some schlemiel. He's good. He's done everything right for the team.
I can't.
When he threw
I can't agree with that, George.
The Giants, he failed. When he threw the interception against the Bucs, he failed. When he fumbled countless times last year, he failed in that sense.
So Drew Brees threw interceptions. Trevor Simeon threw interceptions for the Broncos himself. So that you're going to find some quarterback who's never done any of these things before, and you're going to hold him to that standard? This is
I'm
absurd.
saying the small sample size that we have. Drew Brees also had the capability of throwing 6 touchdowns to that one interception, while I don't think Taysom has that. Right?
Taysom Hill came in for Drew Brees to throw a touchdown versus the Vikings 2 years ago because Drew Brees couldn't make those throws. This is Taysom Hill.
That was a one-read play.
You got such a narrow margin. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and George, not fair to go back on hurt Breeze and say those things. Like, yeah, he turned the ball over because he could barely eat it out of a torn rotator cuff, and his ribs were broken. Okay,
it's fair to
Dude,
attack clickbait, but it's not fair to attack anyone else.
I'm just saying, go back and look at Taysom's quarterback stats. They're very unspectacular. And Jay's right; he was subject to turnovers. And yeah, look, we can't condemn Trevor to his past sins in Denver. All we can do is go off of Saints Trevor and hoot at Saint Simeon and go off of what we've seen. And so far, dude, he's proven, man, he could win against the Super Bowl champs. He could lead you to victory. Did they have a little bit of a lull in the middle of the game there? Let Brady come back? Yeah, but you knew that was going to happen. There was a game of momentum swings. I mean, heck, Brady orchestrated 28-3, so you knew the 16-point lead wasn't safe. And so I don't know. I'm on Team Simeon here. I'm with Jay and George. What's your counter argument to why you don't absolutely need Taysom as an offensive weapon in the Joker role?
Tyler Heineke is a fine quarterback for a game or two. Over the long run, he gets exposed. That's what's going to happen to Trevor Simeon. He's fine for a game or two. He's a stopgap. He's not a guy that can actually lead you deeper, make your offense better. Taysom Hill makes your offense better. Trevor Simeon had a fine game. They were unprepared for him. He did fine. I'm not knocking him. He's like a Calamente. He's not even a James Hurst. He's like a good backup. That's what he is, and we're happy. We're happy that he's doing that. I'm not knocking him. Who's the playmaker? Who's the better player at quarterback? Let clickbait run this offense. He's going to move the ball down the field. He's a fucking playmaker. Give him a shot. God, dude, you're knocking the dude. You're knocking the dude for everything he's done wrong. Everything that every other, and it's like you have blinders on. Yeah, he's made mistakes. Every quarterback's made mistakes.
Dude, I'm saying, first off, I don't like that comparison. I think Taysom Hill's more like Taylor Heineke in terms of highs and lows.
Quarterback swap.
Yeah, I think Trevor Simeon brings you a lot more stability than Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, yeah, you will get some spectacular athletic plays, and then you're also going to see some ridiculous turnovers because he's just not. To me, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. And you didn't really answer the question there, George, about why. Like, I didn't hear the counter argument to why you do or don't absolutely need him on the outside as a tight end, as a wide receiver, as your H-back.
I mean, yeah, we need another weapon. I don't.
Okay.
Okay. Right. That's no secret. That's no secret. But it doesn't make the difference worth it.
Oh, I mean, I think if you get into some of these games and you're struggling to score points, yeah, I think that complaint's going to come up real big on this podcast that we need a weapon. Heck, we're sitting here talking about getting OBJ off of waivers. Okay, I'd say we're pretty desperate for a weapon right now. So yeah, that's why I'm anxious for Taysom to come back. I don't know.
Dude, what has he done? Everything he's done has earned him this opportunity. He's been the backup for years. He has mimicked Drew Brees for years. He's deserved this. To me, this is a no-brainer. I know I've made that clear.
All right, man.
Because he licks his fingers and watches film like Drew Brees. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, we say earn, but the fact of the matter is, like, let's see what we have in front of us. And Taysom's coming off a concussion. Simeon just played one of the best defenses in the league and went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. And our offense looked as good as it's looked at any point of the season, spread the ball around to different receivers, went through progressions, has started in this league with a big enough sample size that you can be encouraged about. To me, and then also it's, as far as Taysom being a weapon, like that comes down to math, right? You're talking about Taysom getting the ball in his hands every time, which I understand. But then you have a guy like Simeon, where Taysom's in that joker role, he can spread it out to Taysom, and you can still throw it to different receivers, where you haven't really seen that with Taysom, being able to read a defense, go through progressions, throw to different guys. He struggles to throw the deep ball. I just don't know how far somebody like that can take you, right? I mean, you might go 10-7 and make the playoffs, but beyond that, I don't know how far you can go.
Yeah, and to Jay's point, I mean, George, I just had to do a quick look up for you here. He had 10 fumbles last year. Now, I'm still looking this up, but I think he lost 5 of those. And yeah, I think during his time, since he took the starting job last year, he led the NFL in fumbles. So it is an issue, him not holding on to the ball, not anticipating the throws, not getting the ball out.
Did he not take the trash out of his house 2 days ago either? Good God, you're looking at everything he did wrong. He won.
Taking the trash out and putting the ball on the turf are 2 different things.
Come on, man.
Yeah, winning.
Raise your
winning.
standards, man.
He won. No, I'm talking about how nitpicky you are. I don't need you to chastise me about the importance of turnovers.
Dude, you
My
can't
time
be,
at working
you can't
in
be
football.
like this with Taysom and be so critical of Jameis. I can't stand this right now. What is this double standard?
I'm pissed.
Clearly, man. Look, let me hit you up with a way more mellow question right here. I mean, just really tone it back. Low key, something that really didn't get discussed. George, you were praising your boy Calvin Throckmorton, and he hit the pine this past Sunday in favor of James Hurst. Well, I mean, how are you coping with that?
Yeah, we're all thrilled. That was great. All the rounds are talking about it.
Oh, man.
Ron, I thought James Hurst played really well in the absence of Teron Armstead to the point where did George leave?
Dang, dude. Wow, I didn't realize we had him that worked up. Okay, yeah, no, he legit just left the podcast. Okay. Well, Jay, I mean, I don't know. Dude, Jay, I think another just great PST point to make on this episode is, we love the fan questions. We love the ones that talk about downfield blocking. And I hate that we're not getting them when we see plays like the play Adam Troutman made. I'm telling you, when he made that block to secure that Alvin Kamara touchdown and held it, and it was on none other than Levante David, of all people. I mean, Jay, that's one of those, then you go and totally redeem yourself after a play like that. I mean, that really warmed my heart a little bit, especially a guy, cherishes a good stalk block. That was incredible. Just an incredible individual effort. And now we got George back, so that's awesome. All right, George, you missed it. We were just talking about Adam Troutman's incredible block to secure the Kamara touchdown. All right. We did not talk about the defense yet. And I know, we're kind of deep into the podcast to be looking backwards, but it really is worth mentioning that the reason that you won that game this past Sunday is, like we keep saying, this is a championship caliber defense. I mean, when you get guys back healthy and everybody's flowing, yeah, were there blown coverages? Sure. Yeah. You got the deep one to Grayson, but the turnovers on Brady, Cam Jordan getting on the board with the sack fumble, and none other than our boy PJ coming up clutch at the end. Let's maybe talk about that. Let's maybe talk about the decision making to set up the defense. And Jay, what were your thoughts there on that final drive where you're marching down and you're right there at the 2-minute warning? And let's talk about some of the play calling there.
You're talking about our defense?
Well, I did. You're right. That was a terrible setup on my part because I started on defense. But it really was the fact that we set up the defense to be in that cliche scenario where you give Brady back the ball with 2 timeouts and a minute 40 left.
So I'll go offense to defense. I'm not. It's easy at this point not to be very critical of the way Sean Payton called those 3 plays inside the 10-yard line because the Saints won the game. But I think what he was doing is calling in reverse a little bit, right? He's probably expecting Arians to expect him to run the ball on first down to force them to use a timeout. But I didn't blame him for trying to throw the ball. It wasn't pretty. It's not like they were close on any of those 2 throws. And I even thought, Ron, that he might go for it on 4th and 5, similar to what Staley did with the Chargers against Mahomes and earlier in the season, when it's like, all right, if we get 3 points, yeah, we're winning, but that's probably not enough from this guy. And then with the defense, it just kind of felt like to me, for some reason, I was optimistic that we were going to stop them. Just the way the game was flowing, the fact that the Saints took the lead, the fact that the offense was able to play well enough to stay in there late and take the lead, and the defense. I mean, it's just fun to watch with Onyemata, and I thought the return of him might have been a little overstated. People were really hyped up, but he did certainly look the part, and that rush looked real, and it looked different with Onyemata, Jordan, and Davenport. And this week, George, our boy Peyton Turner comes back into the rotation, so it'd be good to get some fresh legs there as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Be good to get everybody back healthy. Jay, if I am being critical of the D, I would say the yak was a little excessive. I mean, it just felt like time after time you're throwing smoke screen or slant to Godwin and he's running for 30, 40 yards after the catch. So that got a little old. It's always a bad game when Marcus Williams is your leading tackler after I just went on a whole rant last week about he is a vulnerability tackling. And I hope people saw that when Godwin's just running free and Marcus Williams is like just running next to him instead of like actually running into him to make the tackle. So that'd be like the one spot that I could be critical. They weren't stellar against the run, but Fournette pounds it up on you. But really, you limited their running opportunities by forcing the turnovers and putting them down early and forcing them to pass to get back in the game. So to me, I thought it was a really just tale of momentum swings across the game. But in the end, defense shuts the door. And man, it's very few and far between, I guess, in the last, we've had a nice little run of defenses, but you think back to the entire tenure of Sean Payton and you think about how many games have been lost where you put the defense in that kind of situation. It's just so nice when they close the door like that. Man, it's great. But George, thoughts from the Dome itself. There were a lot of talks about, hey, this is the game that's going to get back. This is the game that's going to get back to that atmosphere. What was it like in the Dome? I couldn't be there. I was really bummed out about it.
So UTO, 1 out of 10. The Dome, 11 out of 10. That was the best Dome experience we've had probably since the Steelers Christmas game. The Dome was finally on fire. And there were some pinch me moments when you look around the Dome and you just see everyone going bananas. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sight. And I kind of expected it to come versus the Giants. But when it came, it doesn't matter, because when that delivery arrived, it was a beautiful, beautiful, soulful, because I think so many people needed that, man. Just a big release, all of us recongregating together and going full Ron. It was as good as it's ever been.
No, it was spectacular. And, I know that the noise meter didn't get up as high as Doug would have liked it. We're going to hear about that in a little bit. But we got another opportunity this week, right? You got the Falcons coming to town, and always a good one to get geared up for. I don't think it's going to be a letdown game because of that, right? This rivalry means too much. I think, especially for this defense, they've gotten to be too prideful on sacking Matt Ryan and just embarrassing this team, as we've seen the Falcons just turn into this downward spiral to some extent. George, do you want to lead in a very special segment that we've got here, going behind enemy lines?
Let me just forewarn you, Rons. Yeah, I got a Falcons fan friend. Sue me. It's all right. He's a good dude. You're going to fly to Atlanta one day and the connection's not going to go. You're going to need somewhere to stay. And you're going to have a boy that's going to let you in. But that's beside the point. My dog, T-Pack, look, put a little salt on this because the Braves won last night and he's still celebrating. So put a little salt on it because my boy's still excited. So we're going to go talk about the Falcons from the Atlanta perspective. And here's your boy, T-Pack. Guess what, Rons? We have a special guest. We have an aficionado from Atlanta, still hungover from the Braves game, watching the Atlanta Hawks right now at halftime. And if you're going to say, George, how do you have a Atlanta Falcons fan? How could you? Don't judge me like that. This is my main man. And I wish you would say something to him. It's my dog. You can't say nothing to him. He's my dog. He's my man. And 50 weeks out of 52, he and I get along like two peas in a pod. But right now, it's Atlanta Saints versus Falcons. It's my main man, Taylor Pack from Atlanta. Mr. Pack, tell him how you doing.
Hey, Big Breezy, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Watching my Hawks kind of get into shape. World champions and the Braves, could be worse.
Championship quality. I love to hear it. So, Mr. Pack, one thing is back in the day, you and I used to get riled up. We went to some Hornets-Hawks games, and we left the arena fighting. We went to the Superdome, Georgia Dome, Saints-Falcons, and, we're 32, 33 years old now. We got kids in the house. We're going to be cool, calm, and collected and keep our composure because we're just trying to learn a little bit about the Falcons, not get all riled up because the rivalry is not as hot as it used to be. And Atlanta has just been at this plateau of below average. I guess for about 4 years, they've just been a very 6-11 team, 6-10 team. And it just seemed as though they haven't done much to get any better. And going into the season, what was the optimism? What were they saying, or what gave you any hope that this would be better going into the season? And then what has gone wrong subsequently?
Well, I wouldn't say anything has gone wrong. There wasn't, a ton of optimism in terms of what we had on the roster and what we could do in terms of, cap space and abilities to kind of put the personnel where it needed to be. But you hit it the nail on the head, man. The Super Bowl. Everyone knows about the Super Bowl. That that is something that needed to be flushed down the toilet 4 years ago. And the coach Dan Quinn, offensive coordinator, all of that stuff had to go. And I guess the biggest thing of optimism is that Dan Quinn's gone. We got a fresh slate. We got a new general manager. The only thing really remaining right now is our quarterback, who I would say probably still needs to go, but you don't make a move until you got a good quarterback lined up or a good opportunity to get one, because a lot of teams spend a lot of time looking for a good quarterback and suck for a long time. So optimism is that we've got a new start. We've got the Super Bowl squad in the rearview mirror, and we can look forward from here.
I was going to say that because you really can't turn the page until you move on from Matt Ryan. And really and truly, Matt Ryan isn't to be blamed for the last 4 years, in my humble opinion. However, you're still in this stale environment because of him and what he represents. And I'm not trying to blame Matt Ryan. He's a fine quarterback, probably better than anyone the Saints have currently. However, it's just you can't move on until there's a new quarterback to bring new life to the team. But speaking of new life, who's left on this team to at least ruin the Saints' day or give the Saints some trouble?
Oh, you already know. LSU's finest. They call him Deion Jones, baby. I would say Deion Jones is one of the holdovers from the Super Bowl that I still really like. But that being said, I mean, the goal is to move on completely from that squad. I would say minus give or take a couple guys. And Matt Ryan is one of those guys, but I do believe he's still a very good quarterback in the NFL. And again, man, there's teams, there's franchises that spend years and years and lots of, high equity draft picks on quarterbacks, and they never get a quarterback like Matt Ryan. So it's Deion Jones. He's the holdover. Keep him. But I mean, in terms of bright spots, we've got Foye Oluokun, who's a really good defensive player. We got Kyle Pitts. We spent a lot of draft equity on him. Really enjoying him. So
really, there's not much to go behind. I know you're talking about moving on from the Super Bowl era, yet there's not that new crop of guys that they can really rally around. So it's just kind of this weird in between of trying to go to the next chapter and yet stuck in this weird plateau where they just can't get over the new hump. And you have this coach that you would think, oh, we'll make some big changes, and yet it's the same old Falcons.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I would say it's kind of like a big boat that you've got to turn around. The first season, like putting the rudders in reverse, you don't go in reverse right away. Like it takes a second to pull that momentum around and start going the opposite direction. I do see this team doing that. I really like some of the young guys we have, but you know, a lot of them aren't ready to really make a huge impact. And then at the same time, you know, in terms of cap space and abilities to really do too much, like we kind of have to wait a year until we have a little bit more money on the books and we can bring in a few more guys that are our new GM, courtesy of the New Orleans Saints. Terry Fontenot can bring in and start, you know, making his own vision of the team. It's not, I don't want to say we're in no man's land, because I do think we've got the gears shifted in the right direction. It's just not going to show itself this season.
So, okay, Atlanta Falcons in a weird spot. Braves just won the World Series. Hawks, they're an exciting young NBA team. What's the vibe around Atlanta with the Falcons? Are people kind of tired of watching them lose, or do they kind of on board for the long haul?
I mean, Falcons fans are Falcons fans. You know, I know I'm speaking to, you know, New Orleans people who the Saints kind of have that top upper echelon of, like, you know, they've got every heartstring in New Orleans. Atlanta didn't work that way. You got a lot of different people from a lot of different places. You failed to mention Georgia Bulldogs right now, number one team in the country. That fever is high, and the Braves fever is high. The Atlanta Hawks are not just a good young team. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They are the most promising young core in the NBA. And if you combine those two things, it almost sounds unrealistic to be in the Eastern Conference and then also be the most promising young core in the NBA. So, yeah, Falcons are on the back burner until Terry Fontenot can get this thing turned around. But, you know, I mean, NFL fans are NFL fans. I'm an NFL fan, and I'm paying close attention. I still put more weight on the Falcons than I do on anything the Braves do postseason, World Series. I don't give a shit. I'd rather the Falcons be good. So they're there, but yeah, it's kind of easy to get distracted right now.
And don't forget Atlanta United, of course. They have our heart and soul as well. So last and final.
Did we get a new hockey team?
The Thrashers, not yet. Haven't replaced the Thrashers yet. Eagerly awaiting that development. How do we see this weekend going? You know, Saints are in a weird spot right now, trying to find out who their quarterback is. Atlanta, we just discussed who they are now. Calvin Ridley out for very vague reasons. Maybe highlight that, and then your Atlanta Falcons viewpoint on going into this game.
You know, I did a deep dive with my right thumb the other day, trying to figure out what was wrong with Calvin Ridley, but my cell phone gave me no real information. Sounds like something bad, to be honest. I mean, they're being super protective of his privacy, and you know, whatever it is, obviously, as human beings, we hope it's something that they can overcome, or Calvin Ridley can get back and get in uniform and play for us. You know, it's funny. We've had such a big week with the Braves that I was like, oh, who are we playing? Man, feel good. I know y'all lost Jameis Winston last weekend, so you got to feel good when you've got your quarterback and the other team doesn't. I will say one thing to note about the Falcons is we took we've gotten Felipe Franks out of Florida, and we've been mimicking a lot of what you guys did with Taysom Hill in terms of bringing him in for his own select plays and stuff like that. So I enjoyed watching Taysom with you guys and kind of that surprise factor that he brought. And it's been cool to see us try to once again mimic the Saints. But man, I think the Falcons got to win. If we got Matt Ryan and Matt Ryan's is worth his marbles, then we should pull out a victory.
You heard it here first, guys. Atlanta Falcon fans think they're going to win on Sunday. Mr. Pack, thank you for giving your insight. And I agree with you about Ridley. There's more questions than answers. It's an odd situation. You know, Patrick Willis and the Niners a few years ago kind of set a new precedence of taking care of the individual first, and mental health does come first. So we'll see where that goes with him. Wish him the best, obviously. Not this Sunday as he's going to go against the Saints, but it's always heated. I know you and Carter and Jacob and the rest of those goons are going to start blowing me up on Sunday once the game starts kicking off and we get all riled up. But thank you for coming in, Mr. Pack. Any last and final words of wisdom?
Yeah, we'll certainly, if we win, we'll blow you up like a grenade on Bourbon Street. But if Matt Ryan can't pull off a W this weekend against a quarterbackless Saints, then he's more worthless than that asbestos building in New Orleans.
The first joke was corny. The second one was good. All right, you the man, Mr. Pack. Thank you, bro.
Yeah. All right, well, I don't know about them dirty birds, man, but when you got a deuce in the bush, you ain't got to worry about no dirty birds, right? As the old commercial says with our boy Hoagie, R.I.P. Jay, how geared up are we for this weekend? Look, I'm not gonna do it too hard. I'm not gonna push it too hard, but it may or may not be the day before my birthday, and I may or may not be bringing some special treats to UTO this weekend. So, but I don't want to hype it up too much, because that's why we got our boy DJ Doug to hype up UTO.
Oh, bruh. Back-to-back Sundays under the overpass. It doesn't get much better than that. It was somewhat of a skeleton crew out there Halloween, but we gonna bounce back harder than ever. Not sure if it was all the trick-or-treating or the letter kickoff, but it was weak. Anyway, I'll tell you what wasn't weak. Them Ryans inside that dome Halloween night. Boy, was it rocking, bruh. When P.J. Williams got that pick six, I could feel my brain rattle in my skull like loose change on a bumpy road, bruh. But the noise meter never got past the 126 point something. Definitely got some funny business going on. So starting this Sunday against the Falcons, I'll be fact-checking the dome noise meter with my own UTO-approved noise meter decibel reader iPhone application. That being said, I'm expecting a 127.4 against the Falcons this Sunday. See y'all out there. Who dat?
Woo! All right, Doug. 127.4. Nah, man. This is cracking 130. I love the dedication to the game, getting the app, he's not stat Ron, he's facts Ron. He only deals in facts. So, all right, Jay, how are we feeling about the matchup this week? Falcons, struggling team. You look at their wins. Who have they beaten? They beat the Jets. I don't even know. Like, maybe they beat the Giants. I'm not exactly sure. Got to do the stat check on that. But Jay, is this the trap game? I know you hate that. I know you hate the trap game. Is it the trap game?
I'll answer that. But George, why don't you drop an audio pin on exactly under the overpass where it is? And I know we got hundreds of listeners to this podcast, and about 185 of them, we know their first, last name, and social security number. But if you loosely listen to this podcast and you might not know us, we'd love for you to stop by. Ron will give you some treats. George, tell everybody exactly where under the overpass is in relation to the Superdome.
It's on Claiborne in Washington.
Under the overpass. All right, so trap game.
No, that's a joke. It's a joke.
Dude,
Poydras and Galvez. If you go to Claiborne in Washington, you're in a bad neighborhood. Poydras and Galvez is a Taco Bell. Poydras and Galvez, you know where to find us. Ron's social security number is 433-889792. Ron, I have to give the Rons what they want. So Ron's going to bring tacos for everybody. Speaking of Taco Bell, it's the day before his birthday, and he's going to have a little fiesta and get everyone all riled up for the Falcons game, and you're all cordially invited. Do we know all of you? Probably, but if we don't, come on by, say hi. Last year or the year before COVID, we actually had some people like, we listened to the podcast. We came. We were like, what? And it just made our hearts sing. It was a beautiful moment of like, we actually have support. And so I know we all get mad at each other about clickbait, but that's okay. That's what makes being a Saints fan fun. You want to come talk about the Saints? Come, UTO. Galvez and Poydras. I was having fun earlier about Claiborne and Washington. That's a bad neighborhood. Don't go there. It's not like Galvez and Poydras is that much of a better neighborhood. Oh, but Ron, breaking news. I just got it. I swear to God, I just got it.
What?
Red, who just had baby number 2. Red, congrats. Baby number 2. Official like a referee with a whistle. But hey, what's more important than having babies? Sending in a weather report. So Red, congrats first and foremost. You know we all love you, our co-owner. Bringing us that weather report. Here it is.
Hey Rons, it's Red, the weatherman. And it is week 9 in the NFL as your 5-2 New Orleans Saints stay at home to take on the 3-4 Atlanta Falcons in the Caesars Superdome. Well, Rons, that's right. We do play in a dome, but the weather could play a big role as you tailgate for this game. With a high of 70 degrees, the real feel is 73 degrees, and a brisk wind out of the northwest at 7 to 9 miles per hour. I'm expecting a 0% chance of rain with 0% chance of clouds. I'm expecting conditions to be sunny and pleasant, Rons. So get out there early, bring your 12 packs. Don't worry about bringing ice, and 1 to 3 girls at the tailgate shall suffice. Anyway, Rons, remember one important thing, whether you like it or not. It's Red, the weatherman.
Red, you the man. We love you, man. We love the whole family. Man, weatherman Red, party of 4. Better make room on that boat, bruh. So happy. All right. And
I got my tickets to Arthur Ashe for 2038 to watch Lisa and Isla battle it out in doubles. They keep going to the coach's booth. There's Red with the mustache. He's nervous, but he's trusting in his coaching that he's instilled over the years. It's gonna be fun to watch.
Incredible. All right. The only
Trap
way
game,
we could.
Ron?
What's that?
Trap game.
Trap game? Is it?
Yeah, I think I was actually waiting for that question because I haven't heard it yet. But there's a lot of things that would point to that, right? You got the big victory. We're smelling ourselves a little bit, feeling pretty good about ourselves. You got the quarterback talk. You got the wide receiver talk, trade deadline. Not a lot of talk about the Falcons. And the Saints are a really good football team, but they're not good enough to roll out the footballs and say, wake up from their Sunday morning, go to church, eat their donuts, and say, oh, who we got today? Is that Matt Ryan over there? Because if they do that, then they're going to get their ass kicked. And hopefully Sean Payton has gotten that message across to his team that they got to bring it every week. We saw what happened in Carolina in week 2. And yes, there were some other variables at play there that led to that ass kicking in week 2. But the Saints have to bring it. And speaking about the defense, Ron, I guess I'm getting a little picky, but I think I know what this defense is capable of and the players that they have and the culture that they have specifically on the defensive side of the ball. I don't want to see those gash plays